I think you can eat here and have sort of a hearty meal, or you can have a lighter meal, and it can be easily tailored to your needs of how you want to eat. And I think that's been part of our success. Even though we are defined as a fresh Mexican restaurant, now it's sort of like /vegetarian/vegan. So we haven't pinned ourselves in this little corner.
So everybody feels comfortable.
Yeah.
Cool.
Welcome to the Fred Opie Show, a food history, research, and writing podcast. We focus on using history to unpack strategies for you to make a positive impact in your world. I'm your host, Fred Opie, a professor of history and foodways.
Welcome to this first edition of a series that I'm starting called Why Do Restaurants Sink or Swim? It's based on oral histories that I collected speaking with owners of restaurants. I teach at Babson College, which focuses on teaching undergraduates as well as graduate students how to do entrepreneurship the right way. The first up in the series is Alto Cinco. Alto Cinco is owned and operated by Johanna York. Alto Cinco first opened its doors in 1995 as a takeout restaurant. The restaurant is located on Westcott Street in Nottingham, which is a suburb of Syracuse. It's the same community around Syracuse University. I'll provide some photos and artwork and links to the restaurant. So if you're ever in Syracuse and looking for some good food, you can check it out. I hope you enjoy the podcast and that you will go to my website at fredopie.com and take a look at the food blog as well as the other sources available on the website. You can find links to the podcast and listen to more stories that we've done. Here's the interview I did with Alto Cinco owner and operator Johanna York.
Do you know Diaz? When I first started, he would just come in, and then one of his articles was published in the New Yorker, and he gave it to me and said that he wrote it while he was sitting in the takeout.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, we got to be friends. I started a year at grad school, but then I ended up getting involved with restaurant stuff, and then I never...
Here you're talking about your anthropology degree and you're doing food related, but I mean, is this like when you were younger, you always used to cook, or you had this? When did this happen?
I grew up. Both my parents cooked a lot. My grandfather happened to be a chef, although he passed away when I was really young. But my mom kind of carried that on. I think she was just a natural with food. My dad, very good cook as well. So together, we just were in that household where my parents cooked a lot. And then they also loved to go out to eat, so that kind of became one of my favorite things to do. And then as I got older and started to, learn more how to cook myself and to try different foods, and then I got a restaurant job, and then it was on.
What was your first restaurant job?
I was a pastry chef, and it was sort of a love-hate thing. I learned a lot, but it wasn't the type of cooking that I wanted to do because it's very scientific.
Okay.
Pastry is like chemistry.
Okay.
It's very, you can't really fudge and mess around, you know? Or you just,
how old were you?
I was 22, 23.
Okay, you did it for how long?
Well, I left that job, maybe worked 6 months or something, and then I got another restaurant job, and that was good. I worked there for about 2 years, and that restaurant was owned by a woman named Rosemary Fafaro, and she's a food blogger too.
Okay.
And she has a cookbook out.
Okay.
But she was sort of like my mentor because I watched her run her restaurant. She was really great at everything she did. And at some point during that time of working for her, I was struggling with what am I going to do with myself? Should I go back to grad school? I didn't know what to do. And she asked me, where do you want to be in 15 years? And I said, I want to own a restaurant. So she was like, then just do it. It's a very strange way of how things happened, but I worked at that restaurant for a while. She left, sold it, moved to California. I stayed in Syracuse and struggled at a couple different restaurants that really weren't my thing, but I got some experience behind me of like volume cooking and, just the ins and outs of restaurant work, what it's really about, weekends. It's rough in the kitchen, that kind of thing, especially for a girl. It's not the greatest place to be, or at least at that point in my life it wasn't. I spent about 3 months living with my sister in Miami because she was pregnant with twins and really couldn't do much. So when I was in Miami, I cooked for her a lot and her husband, and I realized that's what I really, really love to do. So when I came back from that trip, I was ready to do something. I was 28 then, and this little space that was just the takeout side was for rent. So I kind of asked around a little bit, and
in Start With Your Gift, I help you recognize your gift, select mentors, choose the right school, major, and training, consider childhood wounds in need of healing, identify internships. I show you how to select jobs, get your financial house in order, build wealth, and live and give like no one else. That's all in the book, Start With Your Gift. You can find it on Amazon.com in both paperback and Kindle. Welcome back to this edition of The Fred Opie Show, unpacking history to positively impact the future.
How did you know it was the right place is one question. And why the Mexican motif?
I was really interested in Mexican food. Whenever I had it, I was always like, I couldn't get enough. I wanted to learn more about it. When I was really young, I bought my mother a cookbook for a birthday or something, and it was about Mexican food, and I'd always look at it. But then, the restaurant I worked at, St. Basil's, Rosemary had a little Mexican twist to her stuff, and I liked it. But it wasn't a lot. It was just a little exposure to some of the ingredients, the dried chilies, fresh cilantro on everything, black beans. That kind of thing started to open up to me. I'd never really cooked like that at home. Then when I went to New York to visit my brother, because he lived in Manhattan, we would always go to the Mexican places. And they seemed to be in abundance, and the food was really healthy. And that's what made sense to me, that it was, you got a pretty good amount of well-made, healthy food. You know, it wasn't ever seemed like it was like a rip-off, and then after you ate, you didn't feel bad, you know? I mean, unless you get the really heavy stuff. But I would get like a spinach burrito, and I felt like it's brown rice, black beans, fresh spinach. It was great. And then I thought, I wish we had something around Syracuse like this, because if I get takeout, it's always kind of like, it's kind of bad food, you know? It's like not good for you. And I thought this particular space would be good because the neighborhood seemed to have a lot of things going on in it. There were some service places where, you know, that kind of thing keeps people on foot all the time. There was a hair salon. This was a while ago, so there was a video rental. There was a dry cleaner. There was a hardware store. So, and then this below us was the movie theater. So all that together seemed like those are things that are going to keep bringing people around. So it was kind of an easy decision for me. The space was pretty low risk, you know. It wasn't, I just kept thinking in my mind, like, you know, at my age, especially coming out of the fact that my sister just had these 2 kids, and I thought, you know, that's like a risk. This to me is like, I'm going to do this. Like, if it worst thing happens, I'll just pay, you know, back the loan. My brother gave me a loan. Would have been, when I got the loan, it would have been in 1995, because I opened September 17th, 1995. In July 4th weekend, my landlord gave me the keys to the spot and said, you can think about it over the weekend. I'm going to be out of town. Here's the key. I went home and I thought, wow, this is crazy. Somehow from July 4th to September 17th, I opened up the restaurant. It was that fast.
Did you have to gut it and renovate it? Or?
I gutted part of it.
You did it yourself, or?
My sister-in-law helped me.
Okay.
My brother's wife, who was my roommate in college. Okay. She's a fantastic artist, and she came up and helped me, and we worked this one weekend, like kind of around the clock. She had all these great ideas of how to paint everything, and you know, it was pretty riggedy. Like I had like a CD man was like our music system.
Okay.
You know? I had a couple coolers. My dad got the stove he found at like an auction. Wow. I swear it was rough. I had $900. That was my total.
Wow.
Okay. So we kind of got going on everything, and it really came together fast. And then my brother came up right before we opened, and he was like, "This is great. Like, I don't know how you did this so fast, but it seemed so natural and easy. Like it didn't even seem that hard. I was thinking of this the other day, like when I came to the restaurant trying to get stuff together. I remember walking down the sidewalk with one of those plastic, like, see-through phones that I hung on the wall, and that was, like, the phone for, like, I mean, everything was just bare bones, right?
Yeah.
But what was really hard was once it started, just anticipating, like, you know, being in charge of the staff, how much food do we need. I mean, we figured all that stuff out, and I've had some really good people that have actually been with me since then. Having good people around was probably the best, you know, that's the best asset. It's not the money. It's like people you know you can count on, because it's day in and day out, and we are 7 days.
Did they have food backgrounds already, or did you have to train these people?
No, they did.
And how did you just put an ad out, or how did you hire? How did you find it?
No, just word of mouth.
Okay.
People would stop by and say, "Oh, you open up something," and then after the first week, I had a couple people from SU, good kids. You know, it took off pretty quick with getting the right people.
And from the day you walked in and started the renovations to the day you opened, how long was it again, roughly?
So it was July 4th weekend that I got the keys.
Okay.
And then September 17th we opened.
This
was my job, so that was why I think it was kind of...
So how did you survive? You were staying with Mom?
I was living with my mom.
Wow, thank God for Mom.
Yeah.
Now, the first menu you developed because of what you learned from other places, or?
I tried to keep it really simple, and I think the model I was using were some of those takeout places in New York. So it was kind of a simple concept. There were a couple burritos, real simple. It was like chicken, spinach, or bean. That was it. And then we had the same variety with enchiladas and the same variety with quesadilla. And then we had nachos and calamari and 2 salads.
And finding your food suppliers, you use some of the same people that you're...
Yeah.
Good. Was that difficult? Did you have to establish a line of credit with them, or how did that work?
Yes, and one of the purveyors remembered me from one of the restaurants I worked at, so they were really cool right from jump. And another guy that I had never worked with, but I saw his ad somewhere, he came out, met me in person, and just sort of put some belief behind me. And he just seemed to have faith that it was going to be a good deal. And it started off where for years I would just, whatever I got, I would pay for.
Okay.
And it took years to kind of get credit with people.
Okay.
So it was rough. I mean, always that part of it, the financial part of it, was always, I'm not going to lie, it's always been hard. That's always been the hardest part. Still is a struggle in certain ways, but it's different now, but it's just on a different level.
Making profit for you. How long did that take?
We would be going into our 3rd year. So the summer of '97, we closed. I put a new floor in, and I don't know how it was just from, I guess, sheer hard work. We weren't spending the money, so we amassed a little bit of money in the bank, and I was able to buy a hood, which prior to it, the hood was really old and it did not work. So there was hardly any ventilation in the kitchen. It was horrible. So once we got this new big stainless hand bent hood in there, then I felt like we were legit. Once that got in and we had this new floor and we opened back up, everything started to just go better, faster. And then a few years later, I leased all new equipment. And by that point, I felt like it started to, I was moving somewhere. It was starting to make some sense.
In the restaurant business, do people typically lease, or do they buy equipment?
In the beginning, you lease. What I learned, too, is a lot of the things that you buy, if they're not in great shape, you just end up having to fix them, and the repairs are so expensive.
When did you expand?
In 2000, we went into the dining room side.
I want to ask you about marketing. Word of mouth, you found your employees. What kind of marketing did you do from day one?
Nothing.
So wait a minute, how do you explain the success?
Nothing.
Strictly word of mouth.
It took forever, and no advertising at all. Actually, Emma and I were just talking about this earlier. Like, we it's just like ... Like, I don't know what that. It just didn't.
Okay.
I never had the money to do it, so it was kind of grassroots, where certain people that worked here would flyer areas around. This is sort of pre-internet. Box or something.
Did you run specials at all for SU students?
I think we just targeted the delivery with that, because I used to work at a pizza place that did huge delivery, and I saw how much that did for the restaurant, so I wanted to kind of capture that.
Okay.
And so we always had a driver, and we do a lot of delivery now because we are on the website for Campus Food Work, which is instant online ordering. It's a lot of revenue to us during the school year.
Is it an expensive investment to get into that service?
No, it wasn't my idea. Actually, it was Emma's, and she convinced me to do it. And I was very, I just didn't have a good feeling about it at first. I thought what would happen was the people that were normally ordering from us, if they then got online and ordered, were not gaining any business. Okay. But wrong. I was so wrong.
Okay.
We had a whole clientele of people out there that were from us, younger students especially, ordering with their their Apple phones or whatever. Okay. It's like a pop-up and reminds you, it's a such and such special tonight at this restaurant, and then they just click away. It's very secure. They put their credit card in there and they just order, and they don't have to talk to anyone because the millennium kids don't talk, they text. Right?
Yes.
And I think in our generation, it was all about the phone.
Yeah.
This is all about the text.
Okay.
So this now, it's sort of like, that's how people order food. They order food online. It's not.
Is she a different generation than you?
Yeah.
So that's why. But that's how she's kind of clued into that.
She knew to do that. I didn't at all.
But immediately you started seeing.
Oh my God. We were on that thing, and it was like unprecedented. We had to get some nights we had 3 delivery drivers. Service, it's national, it's called Campus Food, but it also swings into this thing called all menu or dot menu. It's all the same. Okay. So they market the all menu or the dot menu would be for people like you're in town, you're not sure where to go, you go on that.
Like I found my hotel, same like
exactly.
one of those type of things.
And if you're a student, you go on Campus Food. But the menu's there, and then it's just you have the capability to just click away at what you want. And then I think what is also good about it is it's exact. There's no I didn't understand what you meant, because it's all prompted by the customer, and then they put their credit card number in, so we don't have to ask them anything.
Wow.
So the order comes right through the fax, and then we put it into our point of sale system.
Wow.
It only takes a few minutes.
Start with your gift. Understand and monetize it while serving others with it. This is my latest book. Here's what people are saying about it. I like the comparison of your life's journey to that of overhauling and realigning your car. This is a great read. Maura Rodino, your book is a modern-day primer on how to be successful and live more abundantly. Joe Edel Sr., read a sample chapter of Start With Your Gift on my website, fredopie.com.
I came tonight to do the interview, and I look at the place, and there's lines going out the door. What does it take to build a successful business?
To be successful, probably with anything, you just have to really like what you're doing, obviously, because, we're here all the time, and if somebody didn't want to be here, it wouldn't work out. And secondly, I think that if you can find a way, especially being an employer, that you have to deal with people and problems, because there's always going to be situations that you don't let it exhaust you or take you down to where you're your health is no good, or you start losing your own energy, or you don't want to come to work. If you got to cut through that stuff, and I think to do that, it's really important that you surround yourself with positive people, have people you can trust, be able to delegate things, and if you try to do everything yourself, forever, that just doesn't work either. One of the things that's helped me a lot is by working with people themselves who are successful and are success driven. Not people that just want a job. There's always people that just need a job and money, but there's also people that want to do something and contribute in a way that they feel important. That's been one of, I think, our successes, because and Emma does a lot of, she does pretty much solely, she's the hirer, kind of the firer too. But we have a way, I think, of where we can take some people that we kind of put the shine on a little, and then a lot of people that work in the restaurant industry are kind of like castaways of, like, they can't cut it in the regular thing, but they can work really hard. And we have a lot of people we've plugged in to all different kinds of spots, and they're good at it. They're good at what they do.
How have you been able to keep the quality of the food the same as you've gotten bigger?
It's the same people. And those people have been making the food, and they're the ones that are really into that establishing, I think, that consistency. I think if there were like 5 or 6 different people every couple days down there handling all the food, it probably wouldn't work out so good. And I think one of the things to be considered also with that is you have to pay people. And I've personally taken that on as a thing that I'm proud of, is that we have people here making decent salaries. We have 401k, I match, we have health insurance.
Great.
So all that stuff has been very, like, I feel progressive with that, although sometimes it's not maybe the most financially sound thing to do. I feel like it's so hard to expect people to get up every day and come to work and just, grind them down and not, know.
Okay.
And I wouldn't feel good about that either. So I feel like I want to continue to be able to have more success with the people I work with.
What's the kind of time on average you put in
the beginning,
per day and per week?
I still work pretty much every day.
How many hours a day?
I got here this morning at around 11:30. So it's not terrible. I mean, then some days, maybe I'll come in the afternoon and I'll leave by 7. And then that's not too bad. In the beginning, it was around the clock, where I'd be here when I opened and I would lock the door at night.
Wow.
I don't do that anymore. So I still bartend or waitress. I cook Wednesday nights. So I have when it's those nights are maybe 8-9 hours.
Have you seen restaurants come and go in your 17 years, or are things pretty consistent?
There are some people that come and go because I think that they're either lacking they're not in it for the long haul. And I think when you do something like that, I think it's important that you have that goal in mind. Because if I didn't have a long-term intention, I would never ever start a restaurant.
And you think sometimes people think it's a quick fix and then they get...
It's something to do, or they fall into this thing of it's a very romanticized notion of, you get to do all the good stuff, and I think it's one of those things where people really confuse it. Of a lot of occupations, I think people think being a restaurateur is very fancy. There's like a prestige associated with it. And I think it's easy to get caught up in that and think, especially if you have a little money to throw around, or you want to capture some part of your neighborhood where you're going to be you do that kind of thing. You can get hit hard with the financial reality of what it really takes to operate a place, how much work you have to put into it, and it's not very fancy. Restaurants that fail might have something to do also. It sounds really basic, but if you're not offering a type of fare that is, I don't know, I feel like lately people are really into being healthier.
The vegan part of your menu, that just came organically out of who you were and how you ate?
It came out of people that worked here that started to teach me how to to eat that way. I don't eat cow or pig, and I don't eat dairy, and I don't eat wheat. My husband has really bad allergies, so we started to go to an alternative health person, and she was like, just take dairy out of your diet. So he did, and then the allergies got better. And then she's like, you know what, I really think you need to get your blood tested for what you're allergic to, and the biggest thing was wheat. So we took wheat out, and it's not so bad. And I'm a huge pasta eater, so we found like good substitute pasta, and now it's okay. It's not so bad at all. But I realized that one of the things I think has honestly helped this restaurant be successful is that we're in a neighborhood where people do eat alternatively. Not in this feeling of like you're going to some hippie place to eat sprouts. You're going to a restaurant where it's kind of rocking, there's good wine, and you can get French fries, or you can get like mussels or steamed spinach, big burrito. Truly, there's something here for everyone. If you want to come and eat like French fries and fried calamari, bam. We don't have cow or pig. We have chicken, a lot of seafood. And that personally is how more I eat, so it was sort of easier to do that. When I took beef off the menu, I got so much flack, like it really negative, and basically it was during that time where they had the mad cow epidemic in Europe, and they were burning all the cows, and I saw the pictures, and I was like, this is disgusting, and then I realized they were feeding the cows like chopped up brains, and I just thought, this isn't what I want to support, and I don't believe in that industry. I think I'm a huge animal rights activist, and I feel like it's so inhumane how those animals are treated, and right to the way they are born to the way they die, and I don't want to support that.
Please email me at fdopie@gmail.com and share your questions. I will repeat them on the show so people get the benefit of your question and my response. Invite me to speak and host the Fred Opie Show at your school by emailing me at fdopie@gmail.com. And during the Q&A with the audience, I share a perspective I wish I had when I was younger. Now back to the show.
I think you can eat here and have sort of a hearty meal, or you can have a lighter meal, and it can be easily tailored to your needs of how you want to eat. And I think that's been part of our success. Even though we are defined as a fresh Mexican restaurant, now it's sort of like /vegetarian/vegan. So we haven't pinned ourselves in this little corner.
So everybody feels comfortable.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's a wrap for this show. Thanks for listening. To hear more content like it, go to fredopie.com. If you have questions about advertising and sponsoring this show, contact us at fdopie@gmail.com. That's fdopie@gmail.com.
Write me to speak, teach, coach, and consult at fdopie@gmail.com. That's fdopie@gmail.com.